Hello.
Sub world, we are here to bring you a new and improved Radio Rothingham. We've gotten a, a, a single 0.1% more professional because now I activated my face cam. That's right. Now you can see me draw while we do the podcast. So it's not entirely, humorless or whatever. So yeah, we got ourselves a new episode. I should also look at the camera. I don't know why I did that, but I can do it now. We got
Leg the camera, Artrix.
the what now?
Leg the
You learn
camera,
how to
Artrix.
play the guitar next?
It's too far away. I have to get up. I'm too lazy for that. I mean, come on, we're not that professional.
Buy
So-
a longer tongue, Artrix.
Yeah. I'll go to tongue.com, get a longer tongue. Thong. No. For some reason, I can't say tongue for all of a sudden. Anyway, we got with you the following guests. We got Xaverius, the Xaverius.
No, you don't.
The what now?
You don't.
Right.
Xaverius is drunk
Don't
already.
own me.
But
Well,
You
here,
don't own-
here's Xaverius. He exists. We got Sekele.
Yes, I am here too.
Yes, live from the Slovakia. And we have our token American, the one and only Tridgeon.
It's high noon
Oh
somewhere
yeah.
in the world.
somewhere.
Except for space. It's never high noon in space. Except in
always-
this.
It's always.
It's
Adrix
always
says
every time.
It depends on where you are in space. If you are really far away,
It's multiple high noon in the space because there's multiple stars that do high noons.
that depends where you are in space. If there's what if there's no stars
over.
around? Have you ever considered that to think, if I'm here in space and there doesn't happen to be any stars around?
By Adrix, by nature, space, there's always some stars around you.
Yeah. So obviously what we need to do is create a place in space where there's no stars. Like if we can just make a star so dense that it becomes a black hole. Oh. No, never mind. So yeah, we're here to bring you a new retarded episode. It's so retarded that I'm almost done drawing this character. So I actually have to start over and draw another character, which is incidentally from the same series, which is Villianous.
I think you planned this.
Well, Villianous is well, we talked about this pre-show, and well, Tridgeon hasn't seen it, but we did bring it up a few times on the show. That is true.
Yeah, we
I
talked
think
about it on the show in the past several times.
yeah, I think Sekele was the one basically alerting me to this show, and it was actually pretty fun. I liked it. And by I liked it, I mean I've seen the entirety of the show in 15 minutes. So it's
Whoa.
yes, it's a really short slip. But yeah, there are petitions out there to try and get the show greenlit for a full-blown series.
By the way, Cartoon Network of Mexico already ordered more shorts.
Oh, short. So it's not gonna be like a regular show.
Full-blown pants, just shorts.
Yeah.
So what's it about?
The premise is actually refreshingly simple, given the format of many shows these days. It's basically just, hey, we're a bunch of villains, and we do things, but in a villainy way. Like, just the daily woes of being a villain. Like,
So,
oh my god, I need a lair, and it needs to be locked, and oh no, I locked myself out of my lair. Well, go fix it.
Nice.
That sort of thing. It's really lighthearted and doesn't take itself very seriously, which I suppose resonates with a lot of people. We're like, yeah, it doesn't always need to be super serial, especially in my cartoons. Sometimes I just want to have like retarded fun. That's retarded and not serious.
So it's a little bit like if the musical piece from Wander Over Yonder, I'm the Bad Guy, where the green girl sings.
Yes.
Yes. So it's like if that was an entire cartoon.
probably.
Oh my god! If you haven't seen this, it's absolutely awesome.
Well, and it's all done in frame by frame animation, so it's got no to very little tweened animation. So if you're a fan of traditional animation, well, it's obviously done digitally in the sense that they used, computers, but it's still
A
frame by
traditional
frame.
technique.
It's a traditional technique, so it's got that going as well. So it's a very cute little show, and yes, I
Although
wouldn't.
it was only released in Spanish and Portuguese.
And I think
Yes, Cartoon Network. Yeah, Cartoon Network of Brazil also started airing it, by the way.
well, they're all Latin America, so I
Yeah, but
suppose
one
they
is
kind of
Spanish and one is Portuguese.
yes, yeah, but they're all part of Latin America, so I would assume that they are more on the ball on they're more eager to pick this up than the American Cartoon Network, since it is clearly I would say it's clearly meant for Spanish speaking audiences, or but it isn't, because there's a lot of elements in the show that make me think, yeah, they totally expected this to be brought to the Anglosphere.
I mean, there's also, I don't know if you saw like the 3% or whatever, but there's definitely now a lot more niche programming for all sorts of markets, and one of them is the huge Portuguese market. 3% was a case of a Portuguese show made for Netflix becoming incredibly popular by the English-speaking community as well.
Speaking of Netflix and Latin America, the Mexican series Legend Quest became on Netflix became extremely popular but for English-speaking audience, mostly because it also has an English dub with an English dub as well.
Oof. If it's anything like the 3% one, though, just watching it with subtitles is infinitely better. Oh my gosh, some of those Portuguese to English dubs are horrific.
Now, I've seen both I've watched the entire series, both in English and Spanish. That's how hardcore I am.
That's pretty hardcore.
I spent
at the same time.
No. I'm not that hardcore. But the real question becomes, did you, Xaverius?
Artrix is not hardcore enough.
Did you watch, the entirety of Villianous in both English and Spanish at the same time?
Why would
Did
I watch
you?
anything, Artrix?
Well, there you go. At least I watched it. You didn't. Therefore, you lose.
What, you expect us to read the article before posting? What do you think this is?
What article?
What are you talking about?
I'm making an analogy.
Ah, okay. But
Legend Quest.
Also, yeah.
You will go and gather the knowledge required to get your references before you make an analogy.
Do you have a source for that?
Citation needed.
I'm going to need a citation for your source as well.
But,
just because.
But I need a source of your citation.
Yep.
I need a citation for that article.
It's just Wikipedia all the way down. It's pretty horrific.
Do you have a link to your citation of your sources?
Oh, no, it's actually a citation of a page in a book that you're going to have to go to the library to get.
Oh, that's pretty hardcore. Though, to be fair, the internet's equivalent is citing a paywalled study. So it's like,
God.
I'm making this political claim based on this data. Can I see the data? Yes, it's here. And it's like, you have to pay 6 billion euros for this data. It like, fuck that noise.
It's been like that long before the internet was doing citations. If you go to the library and say, hey, I want to go check the citation of this peer-reviewed journal, the internet and your catalog tells me that you have it, and they'll say, do you have access to our catalog of Scientific American? You know, you need to pay $20 a month to have that access. That's like, it's a real physical thing too. Where
That is extremely. That sounds like something that would be extremely easy to abuse.
Yes. Yes, it is. And basically, you don't have access unless you're working for a company that has these licenses or at a university that has paid for these licenses already. I mean, I guess journalists would potentially pay for these things as well. But
Well,
most
did you say like 20 quid a month to have access to something like this?
I was making up because my only experience with it was like, oh, the university owns this membership. So I imagine it's probably much more expensive than that because it covers anyone in your organization, apparently.
But yeah, this is how a lot of these arguments are like. Yeah, just look it up. Look at these citations. It's like, I can't even fucking read this. So how can I verify anything that it says? And for all we know, it's bullshit.
That kind of reminds me of situations I encounter only for different reasons. When I try to give a source, useless because it's written in Slovak.
Are you trying to give sources for someone's porn now?
I don't know why.
On the website, so it says, "Can you give me a source for this GIF?" Oh, I go to Xaverius. He has all of the sources.
Do you mean sources of sauce? There's a difference. Sauce, please.
Yes. I call Xaverius the sauce master.
Wait, Xaverius is the sauce master now?
Yeah.
Do you make all the sauces, Xaverius?
Well, I thought he was talking about Severus Snape. Because he said Severus.
I can't pronounce that X, you know.
Tridgeon.
Oh, okay, Tridgeon. Can I say extreme?
Tridgeon. I'm Slav. Therefore, my X is just pronounced X. That's all you can, all you have to do.
I mean, it's not Xaverius. Xaverius.
That's how the strange French people pronounce it.
But do I pronounce it the right way? I always say Xaverius.
You are 2% French, obviously you don't.
So it's Xaverius?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Xaverius. I just have to put more emphasis on the KS. And I'll be good.
Xaverius.
The more, but if no one's called Xaverius, then everyone is? No, that joke didn't work. You see, this is going to be the forced meme of this episode. So expect to hear it more often.
Forcing Xaverius' name into a meme.
Anyway, anything else you want to add on when it comes to Villianous as a series? I don't think there is much you can say about it since it's so short.
Yeah.
You said something about the color palette?
Oh yeah, the color palette is definitely very DeviantArt-ish. I mean, for this dude, it kind of works. I actually really like it, to be honest. But there's also a chick in the series, and her color palette is like, yeah, this looks like it came straight from DeviantArt. It's got a lot of clashing colors and whatnot. On the flip side,
she's wearing sleeves and socks.
Something like that, and this really
Tridgeon,
weird
most
list.
of people wear sleeves and socks.
But only on one side of her body?
Yeah.
Well, she's poor. She can afford both sides of her body.
Oh, I do see. She actually, the one on the other side of her body is actually there. It's just ripped.
Tridgeon, look, it's a Mexican cartoon, right? She's too poor to afford that.
Wait,
this is a realistic Mexican cartoon describing the living conditions. Everybody is evil and poor. They just want out of the country. That's why it's so horrible when they deport them back, you know.
Oh, so that's the analogy of that episode where he was kicked out of his house. I get it. Too deep 7 me. All right. We need a new topic. So, I guess I'll start with Xaverius. You want to bring something up?
Yes. I have the best topics. Lots of people come and say you have the best topics. It's true.
Mhm.
Well, so Trump was suspended from Twitter for like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And everybody was like very happy. It's like, yes, he got banned. It's so beautiful and wonderful and great. And then the site with the frog in the title was like, don't worry, we have an account for him. And then Twitter was like, well, we actually pushed the account back. Some employee who was leaving just got fucked, and he got angry and he banned Trump from Twitter.
Okay, so a soon-to-be ex-employee was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go and ban Trump because what are they gonna do? Fire me?"
And
I
they're
got nothing to
Classic
lose.
last day of work.
I'm going to assassinate the president. Wait,
did
what are you talking about? Are you saying that killing people on Twitter is not killing them in real life?
so wait, they actually kicked him out?
They kicked him out before he did it.
Yeah. So apparently he still had access to the Twitter network or whatever, and he was like, "While I'm still on my way out, might as well ban Trump."
Take him down with me.
Well, one thing that I kind of wondered, though the answer's probably pretty obvious. Why doesn't Trump use the official account more often, like the
There's
one
no
that?
good reason.
Yes, exactly.
There's really no good reason. And in fact, actually, this incident really highlights the huge issues that we should be having in
Huge.
the U.S. with Trump using Twitter as a vocal platform. It's
He can
obvious,
say what he wants. How terrible.
but he could do the same thing using WhiteHouse.gov. He could do the
No.
same thing by calling
No,
State of
see,
Union
that's
addresses.
the problem.
He's got so many platforms he could use that aren't
He
as
can't use the
horrific.
official president Twitter for the things he's saying. They wouldn't allow him to
he
do
has-
that.
He has the ability to send a text to every phone in the US if he so wanted to. And I really hope he doesn't discover this, because the only reason why he hasn't done it is because he obviously doesn't know that's a feature.
So you're
What's this
saying,
big red button do?
so what you're saying is that the president of the United States has a phone that can just send a text to every phone in the country.
Yes, it's a part of the emergency broadcast system.
Oh, that's just part of ES.
Yes.
But it's not like, I'm going to send a message to this one dude over there, whether you want it or not.
Everyone. It'd be much more like Twitter for just the president.
Yeah, but the president shouldn't be using ES for, just the kind of things he tweets. ES is
He shouldn't
for
be using an unaltered Android phone to just post blind messages onto Twitter either, especially when it's, I don't know, it's just such an unsecure platform. It's like a random ass employee of Twitter can basically shut down the president's favorite way to talk to the nation because he's chosen
indeed.
a platform which is so
Oh, I mean,
unstable and
after all, it's
unprofessional.
his personal Twitter. It's not the official one. That's the distinction there. On the official one, he would be able to say the stuff he's saying.
Yeah.
Also, Tridgeon, how do you know you can do that? Were you a president? I bet you were a president of USA, and then you sent everybody an SMS, and then they kicked you out of the presidency and forget you ever existed as a president.
I know it's a thing because in my phone I can go into the features and it'll let me know what my EMS features are.
Oh yeah.
And I can turn
Features.
I can turn off most of the EMS system on my phone. Amber alerts, which is like abducted children, weather alerts, and then there's also
Personal messages from the president.
yes, that is a checkbox that is grayed out because you cannot uncheck it.
Why would you even put it as a checkbox then?
Yeah,
I imagine.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I imagine it's just where it's like if we were being nuked, the president has the ability to send a text to everyone telling us to duck and cover.
Duck and cover, duck and cover. Yeah, but
And obviously, Trump being Trump, he's going to be like, bring some guacamole to the party.
I mean, like, oh, guess what I just found? in my phone's features.
No, but ES, yeah, it's obviously only there for national emergencies, not for the inane ramblings on the Twitter. But yeah, I always thought that government officials using Twitter always came across as kind of lame. It's like, yeah, look at me, I'm a
So
politician.
unprofessional.
I'm so hip. I'm so hip with the youngsters. Look at me on the Twitter, Facebooks. It has become slightly more accepted in recent years, but still.
Hip youngsters, like you can put hip youngsters together. They morph and become hipsters.
It's a series of tubes,
Yes, exactly.
not a dump truck.
The internet isn't. You don't dump everything on the internet. It's not a series of tubes.
I thought, Xaverius, you were going to talk about how much you hated Blizzard for
Yes.
one of their recent decisions.
That
I
is
hate
true.
Blizzard constantly. That's
But
nothing new.
especially because of something new, apparently.
Yes,
So what is it?
a terrible thing that shall not be spoken about.
Wait, you have to do it anyways.
Oh,
Do it.
Oh, God.
Do it.
No.
Do it.
Do it, faggot!
no, you.
No. Mind your language. Come on, this is a Christian server. Do it, Vager.
Not the French.
Alright, sorry. Pardon my French.
So after like 12 years of Blizzard saying they do not have the original game data, they decided they are now going to do the original game data, the game. So yes, it's apparently it's going to be just like the original, because it seems that World of Warcraft is now a husk of a dying person who's rigged on an intensive care unit, and well, I guess they are still trying to milk it in some way, because after all those millions of players they had, they find it inconceivable that people don't care about their new and better plot lines that basically amount to a fanfiction of a fanfiction. Like if you read the Harry Potter thing from the Darkness Dementia person, that's some in that area of quality. That's
Well, it
what
sounds like you're a fan of the old Warcraft games. Then you
I am
like
a fan of the real Blizzard before Activision bought them.
But you know
if
these
you-
remastered are
Perhaps
those same
Tridgeon.
game.
Perhaps
It's the
if you
same
know,
game with new graphics.
perhaps if you noticed, you would notice that Blizzard wasn't able to make a good game in the last like 13 years.
I disagree. I like several of their games that come out in the last 13 years.
They didn't make anything good. StarCraft 2, Diablo 3, Overwatch. All of them are crap.
I like two of those games actually a lot.
Oh, and then they made
StarCraft 2 was a
Hearthstone.
really well-made game. They
Okay.
just came out with StarCraft Remastered.
I
Apparently
would
they're gonna do
I would
Warcraft 3.
agree in that aspect that Wings of Liberty had the original StarCraft feel, but then decided to fuck it all up.
Oh no, the latest iteration of StarCraft 2 actually I think brought that a lot back.
It was the worst. It was the absolutely worst piece of shit in that series.
They cut out like
It was
3
the
minutes
fucking
of downtime.
antithesis of everything that the original StarCraft was. It's
I
like
don't know.
it's almost like Diablo
StarCraft
3
was
version
much
of
more
StarCraft,
magical.
except Diablo 3 was such a blasphemy that it has nothing to do with the original Diablos except for the name. At least StarCraft 2 had a chance of being made by the original people.
I mean, the newest version of StarCraft 2, really the most major thing they did was cut out 2 minutes of downtime at the very beginning where you're just droning or probing or SCP.
Nobody cares about multiplayer.
But the entire game is revolved around multiplayer. The
No, it's
single player was
it's
always
the campaign,
secondary.
and then you play like twice a year with friends, and,
Oh my
and
God.
the easy
There-
difficulty computer kills you, and then you go play something
Okay,
else.
yes. If we're just talking the campaign, which apparently we're doing, StarCraft
Yes.
Brood War is head and shoulders much better than anything they've done in the newest games. I haven't enjoyed a single player Blizzard experience in a long time, actually.
And you know why? Because they are trying to make it like multiplayer, fast paced.
But they're really good at multiplayer. Their multiplayer games are fantastic. StarCraft 2 multiplayer is awesome. Overwatch is a really phenomenal
The
experience.
Koreans didn't think so.
No, the Koreans are just going to stick with StarCraft forever. They should be pretty happy that they remastered it, actually.
I had no info about it.
They re-released StarCraft Brood War, except with HD graphics now.
Yes, obviously, but what the Koreans did say?
That they're gonna put it back on TV. Then I mean, the Koreans been playing the original StarCraft on their television shows since it came out, and I imagine at this point it probably looks out of place. Yeah, I mean, if someone was like, "I'm gonna try this out," I've never seen this before, and they're gonna look at it and be like, "What is this? It looks like a horrible mess made in 1998." But now it's got
horrible mess made in
fancy, shiny
1997.
graphics.
Huh.
Yes, but now
the,
it's
the
all
best
shiny
thing
new.
about StarCraft 2 I found is it's using the Warcraft 3 engine.
Yeah,
It was
That's a
over
good-
a decade, Blizzard. Why wouldn't you? Why? You are Valve level now.
I mean, you don't just make a new engine for every game. Like
Well,
that
you
would be
can.
extremely wasteful.
I mean, Tridgeon, there was 10 years between those games.
This
More
is
than 10
Blizzard we're
years.
talking about. 10 years is like yesterday.
Well, they do seem to think so because they are very surprised about why the fuck they don't have any players left in World of Warcraft.
Isn't World of Warcraft still like one of the most played games on the internet
Tridgeon,
still?
we don't know because right after Warlords of the Nether hit, and people were like, "Okay, this looks cool," and then 5 hours later, we're like, "This is the worst expansion ever." Blizzard decided they are going to stop with the number of subscribers because they have better metrics.
Ah. Do those metrics involve numbers?
Definitely not of players.
If no one uses, if everyone uses numbers, then no one does.
All right, I found a post from when is this posted? This was posted in January. WoWcensus.com says 1.1 million characters are active over level 20.
That doesn't tell you anything.
It says there's a lot. It's a lot more than nobody, which is what we were just saying before.
Yes, but that game had 10 million of players, 11 million of players when it was at its peak, and
But it's a game
At the-
released in what 2005.
at the time,
Has over 1 million people playing it.
at the time when the Wood came out, it had like 5 million at best.
Yeah, but now it's
And you have.
Blizzard is-
I don't think what the limit is exactly, but I think it was about 50 characters total, across all accounts. So
I mean, I wouldn't
overall
call
time
that.
is nothing.
They have so many other games now making them money, and they still have World of Warcraft making them what, 1 million times $15 a month, $15 million a month just from the game that they made 15 years ago or more.
Or less.
That's or less. What is it? 8 years ago? That's some number.
Well, I wouldn't say that WoW has 0 players, obviously. The game was just too big for that to be the case. But the flip side is
Compared to what it was.
we haven't heard much from, the whole WoW scene to begin with. So the player base has probably dwindled quite a bit in the past 5 or so years. But it's definitely still there. But it's probably been outshined by other big MMOs and what have you.
Not really. They are
No.
all just imitating World of Warcraft.
That
or doing the arena shooter game. Yes, well, the thing is, World of Warcraft is not both population and qualitatively what it used to be. It actually peaked around Fire of the Lich King, which was 2009-ish.
Yeah, I agree. That was by far the best time playing.
Mhm.
In my
wasn't
experience.
wasn't that
And
around the same?
It was also because
Yeah, the
that
second.
finished the story of Warcraft 3, and from then it was just like the MMO original story. which
Yeah, Cataclysm was awful.
which mostly consisted of taking established characters and turning them upside down and inside out. It was horrible.
Time traveling.
Oh, that was Worlds of Draenor. Like they don't usually listen to community, right? And one time they listened to community. It was because the community didn't like one guy, and they turned the guy from a part of a like he was a rather brash person who didn't like the other faction, and then they made him a war chief. And then people didn't like him because he wasn't the original guy. That was the only reason why they didn't like him. So
Yeah,
the place was like, okay, I guess we are going to listen to you now. And then they made him a war criminal and the main boss of the next expansion. He had potential. That was actually a character that I didn't mind that much because he had potential. If they hired somebody else than a horse to write the story, then maybe it would have ended better. But no, they had to listen to community this one time. Then they made a few expansions that nobody liked because one of them had pandas. That's the only reason why nobody liked it. And then they made it the worst expansion ever, where they went back into the days of Warcraft 2. So they had a chance to relive this lore and maybe make it a bit different than it was before. No, they made it exactly as it was in the Warcraft 2, and they fucked it up. It was as lackluster as ever.
So if you like the old pre, Activision Blizzard with the storytelling and everything, why would you be upset that they're remastering the old games? Shouldn't this be an opportunity to play the old games except with
Tridgeon?
Yeah.
It's not pre-Activision Blizzard. It's Activision Blizzard.
Yeah, but the game is literally unchanged. It's the exact same game. It just has new graphics.
It's not literally unchanged. They added lots of things that were not during this time. They added stuff like racial transfer, faction transfer, lots of stuff you can buy in game and shit like that.
They've added
unless they are going to give up these models of microtransactions, then it's not going to be the original game because community was actually a good aspect. You couldn't rename or go to the other faction. So if you did something stupid,
retarded.
Yes, stupid.
If everyone's retarded,
if you stole somebody's loot, and if you stole somebody's loot enough times, then everybody would know that you are the guy who was stealing all the loot, and then you wouldn't get any guild. You would be fucked.
Yeah, the community in early WoW was actually really fun to be a part of. But you're saying that all the microtransactions they've added to it, which I didn't know was a thing, that's alarming. That sounds like something that would kill that community and make it a lot harder to make it, a little bit more the transparent organic thing that made, talking shit on Baron's chat, fun.
Obviously. They fucked up in Cataclysm because they divided Barons and they were like, oh no, we can shift all them Barons just for 20 levels.
And let me get it straight. You still need to pay like a monthly subscription to play World of Warcraft?
Obviously, I think it's World of Warcraft. They are never giving that up. But they added microtransactions, so if you are not content with just paying the subscription fee, you can buy more.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. I still am shocked that Blizzard can get away with having a subscription on World of Warcraft when every other MMO that has been made, at least recently, has all been free to play.
Especially since Warcraft is half dead.
And will not drop them.
They lived through some influx of people on the last expansion because the last expansion was the ultimate fan service. They brought back the guy who was dead for 5 expansions now because he was a fan favorite since Warcraft 3. They bought basically everything they ever speculated about that they eventually cut out of the game. They even brought back a Emerald Dream, which was a place and a storyline they teased before the first expansion.
They finally made that a thing?
That they made it in Legion. They made it in Legion after 5 expansions since it was supposed to happen, and after they concluded the entire storyline, which they did in a book.
I've literally been living under a rock for the last 5 years. But the last time I played Warcraft, I remember going to the Emerald Dream and be like, oh, this will be a cool thing when they finally make it not just a horrific place to die to a dragon.
Exactly. That's what people thought. And Blizzard never did it. And they were like, oh, I guess it's too late to make the expansion now because we went somewhere else with the story. Have a book! There's a story in it! You can read about Emerald Dream! fuck off, Blizzard. I wanted to go into the Emerald Dream. And then, like 7 years later, they bring in Emerald Dream, except, because, Blizzard, except it's not Emerald, it's all red, because it's overrun by corruption. And
What?
it's a raid, and you get to kill that. You get to kill that big friendly dragon and that big friendly demigod. Oh,
I don't remember the dragon being friendly. I think I remember dying
no,
horribly.
I don't mean that undead dragon was guarding for them. I mean Isera herself. Yes, you are going to kill the aspect of dreams because she's corrupted with red glue.
Well, that sounds kind of like fun. Except
Also,
I don't know. Except the idea of going.
You remember that you remember
dream that it's red. That
yes,
sounds
but
alarming.
it's not a zone anymore. There was a big beautiful zone. It was a continent. Well, not anymore. It's a raid. It's just a raid under a tree.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I mean, to be fair, so in vanilla Warcraft, it looked like they were going for. They had two aspects of the game: the exploration and raids, and
Yeah.
they were two different parts of the game that were pretty. Each one was invested in pretty heavily.
It was
over
heavily
time-
focused on
over-
exploration. Yes.
Over time, they found that the user base really, really liked raiding, and it seems like they dropped the exploration, streamlined it, and gave more room for raiding. And I don't know, by the time you got to some of the later expansions, they were really focusing on how do we add more raiding to this game. And I don't know, for better or for worse, I can understand if this was going to be a new zone, but instead we made more raids because
Tridgeon,
I don't think
Tridgeon.
anyone wanted more zones.
They didn't make it a zone because originally that zone was supposed to be the expansion. It was the size of a continent.
Yeah, but maybe this decision change happened after the player base essentially showed them that people preferred raiding.
Maybe it also happened after the base kind of diminished, so they had to attract them back. So they went full fan service mode. They're like, oh, we didn't do Emerald Dream yet, but they were like, oh well, we already have this new continent. Let's just make something to appease them. They made raid. Oh, by the way, you remember that elven demigod that they killed in Warcraft
Yeah.
3? Well, he's been resurrected somewhere in Cataclysm, and now you get to kill him again.
That
GG.
sounds.
Because obviously he's corrupted. That's like Blizzard's favorite way to kill off friendly or favorite characters. It's like, oh look, he went crazy.
Yeah.
Then you go in and kill him. Her, it doesn't matter. They kill people indiscriminately.
If you kill everyone, no one gets killed.
And as Tridgeon said, they don't. They are going to be undead.
They're not dead until you see the body dead, and you see the body dead and burned, and then launched out the side of a spaceship.
Tridgeon.
If you
It's not dead until you loot it. Therefore, you were right with the fact that they heavily defocused exploration. In Cataclysm, the quests were basically like, this is quest hub A, do 5 quests around this quest hub. Now jump on a flying horse and fly to quest hub B, do 5 quests around that. The exploration was completely snuffed out. And in Legion, which is this expansion, the fan service expansion, they decided they're finally going to turn World of Warcraft into full-blown single player, because now you are the leader of your class on the entire world. Yes, you are the best paladin, you are the best rogue, and the story is now revolving around you, which kind of added a lot of headache for role players, because how can you roleplay when now you are the best? Like, no, that's what if you had 2 paladins in the party? Are you both the best?
if everyone's the winner, no one
and
is.
Tridgeon, everybody gets Ashbringer. They're just giving out welfare legendary weapons.
What? That sounds ridiculous.
Yes,
All right.
you get an Ashbringer, you get an Ashbringer, you get an Ashbringer. Obviously, they don't have enough legendary weapons, so they had to made most of them up, because, make most of them up. Because there were not enough legendary weapons for all the classes and specializations.
If everyone's got a legendary weapon, then no one does.
Exactly. That's what. And they made the stuff that drops in raid randomly generated. Like the stats on them are randomly generated, so you can run a raid for
Xaverius,
weeks and
Xaverius,
weeks and weeks
Xaverius, I gotta
and
go.
weeks.
Oh,
Xaverius, sorry to drop
Tridgeon.
you here, but I literally have to go separate the cows from the calves and do cowboy things.
Okay.
That sounds
Bring
incredibly
them
unfair.
over. They can be in the podcast too.
Life in America, right?
Yes.
Yeehaw.
All right, well, take care. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Yay, motherfucker.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Well, he said that Blizzard focus on raids. Well, yes, in the worst way possible. Like you had a raid, and you went in and raided it, and then you get some loot. You know what they did? They added a difficulty. So instead of raiding the raid and getting loots, you raided the raids, good loot, and then you raided the same raid again. And usually the loots were exactly the same, so it kind of was pointless. It was the terrible decision at the end of Pride of the Lich King that was one of those that cost them population. So, to round it up, they are desperately trying to lure the old population back in. And if they are going to keep the modern way of earning money, I don't think it's gonna work very much. And you just know they are going to fuck it up because there's basically nobody from the original people left. Not even the chief lore writer. He went into retirement.
To be honest, it all, I know the basic terminology, but given that I never really gotten into World of Warcraft or Warcraft, yeah, I mean, just the fact that World of Warcraft was, subscription based was just, it's still alien to me. Especially in this day and age. I'm not going to pay a subscription in on top of all these microtransactions.
I only ever gave a damn about the real Warcraft.
You mean the original games? Wasn't the original World of Warcraft just an RTS?
No,
Just
that was Warcraft, Warcraft 2,
Oh.
Warcraft 2 Beyond the Dark Portal, Warcraft 3, and Warcraft 3 The Frozen Zone Artrix. Don't you know anything?
Like I said, not about the whole Warcraft universe. Never really cared much about it. These words might sound alien to you, but it is true.
It is true. It was always just you.
And Xaverius is speechless, aren't you?
No, I just spoke.
Oh. Okay. Anyway, since I don't know much about the topic anyways, and I'm not talking about World of Warcraft, but apparently this just in. So there was this little convention also related to the Blizzards, and they also announced a new hero with Overwatch. And the only things I know about her right now, well, this is 2017.
She's purple.
Wait, she is?
She's purple.
Oh, okay. Well, she's purple. And she's a
It's
healer.
literally Sombra.
No. Well, maybe
Purple
visually.
people are Sombras.
Well, she is a talent, isn't she? She's part of the quote-unquote bad guys in that universe.
That's Italian. That's basically Mexican. She's Sombra.
Uh-huh. So she's talent. She's a healer. And she's like the bastard child between Mercy, Symmetra, and Anna.
Sombra.
And some Senyata and some
There was
Hanzo
some
tossed in there.
party.
But yeah, I heard about this just moments before this episode, so I didn't bother looking it up, which is actually kind of fun to speculate and have this in this episode, so we can probably get Astra in here to talk about it next week, because he probably has a thing or two to say about it. Also, we're getting a new map. And apparently it's Blizzard themed, which is so far the most retarded thing I've heard about Overwatch.
What theme? What again?
Blizzard theme.
Like
Apparently,
Blizzard.
yes, this is like a map in Overwatch that's themed around Blizzard.
Also, the new character is supposed to be Moria.
It's supposed to be what?
I'm just looking at the Overwatch website and I see it's called Moira.
Moira. That's the name of the character.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She does not look like something from Overwatch.
Wait, hold on. Doesn't he have like a fish theme going on, or is that some other fan character that I've seen recently?
No, she kind of looks like something out of Star Trek.
Right.
The picture of her,
Hmm.
the site. Here I'm throwing it into the public stream.
But yeah, from what I've heard, she will probably take some time to get used to. Her moveset sounds pretty odd. Like her, oh, so there's a picture. Let's click it. Yeah, I don't get Overwatch vibes when I see this character.
She looks like something out of Star Trek.
I would say that she...
Oh, and by the way, she's Irish.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Especially if she swears in Irish, that would be great, but she probably doesn't.
She has a background in genetic engineering.
And she's Talon, right? So
Yes.
at least they kind of have that,
she has
that
3
theme.
arms.
What?
See,
She needs to have 3 arms. Like everybody has a metal arm, so she needs to have a metal arm, and then she needs to have a organic arm behind the metal arm.
I see what
Because
they
she
did.
was like, I got bored. I'm gonna grow another arm.
Yeah, but this one, this one's got a Zuko eye. It's almost like Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, except it's a woman and it's future-y and shit.
Only that it's not a scar, but it seems to be an implant.
Potato, tomato. See, she probably gouged out her own eye just so she could have that cool implant. She's like, oh, gee, I wonder what would happen if I stand on this ladder while no one is watching and it's very unstable and there's a knife right there. Oh no, this knife has impaled my eye. If only there was technology to have it surgically replaced by a much better eye. I think I just summed up the entire Overwatch universe. It's like, yeah, all these implants are so much cooler than a boring old eyes. Like, pfft, I don't need these eyes. This is much better. Except when you're Anna, then you just keep not having an eye because it just looks cool.
Oh, and apparently...
See, I think she's so good that she doesn't need an eye.
Well, she almost literally says that in the game. She's like,
Yes.
Mercy's like, oh, you know that we can fix that eye of yours, right? And she's like,
Hands off, bitch.
I don't need eyes.
I am my scars. Wait, wrong game.
I can shoot everything with just one eye. You'll see, Mercy. You'll see. Also, for some reason,
Your mercy.
If everyone's got eyes, no one does.
Exactly.
I don't know.
and apparently she uses biological weapons.
Well,
Fact.
that's actually kind of disappointing, given that Anna's got the same stick. Though her technology is kind of like, she was like, hey, Mercy, that's some cool tech you got over there. And Mercy's like, huh, what? And then she just steals it because she's Anna. She doesn't give a shit. But in this case, it seems to be something completely different. But anyway, from what I've heard so far, she has like a gun and she needs to switch between healing and dealing damage. So whenever she's in hurt mode, she can only hurt. And when she's in heal mode, well, you'll figure it out. Also, her ultimate is basically like a big laser, much in the vein of Hanzo, I guess. And it kind of creates like a transcendence, so that's the Zenyatta part. I don't know. That's what I heard so far, and yeah, I guess I have to see it in action to really gather what these abilities do. But at least I'm glad that they added another support hero. Anyway, I think that's all. That's all we can say about that right now. This literally just came out, so it's all new and shit. Right. Sekele, I think you wanted to talk about your country's.
Yeah, basically tomorrow we have regional elections,
Mhm.
and aside from the fact that it's the regional elections, a bit of controversy because the law for this election was changed. And it was changed in such a way to be a single round election. Because
Right.
normally, I'm not sure how to translate this term, but the head of a region over here is called a Jupan. And
Jupan.
No,
was-
Jupan. Artrix, just a quick diversion. Just whatever. You know what Jupan means in Czech, Artrix?
No, I don't. What does it mean?
It means a bathrobe.
it gets even better, actually. A region, like the regions that Jupans represent, are called Jupi or Jupa singularly.
Kind of sounds like the Dutch word for yippee. Whenever whenever a small child wants to cheer, they say "Yuppie."
Only that it kinda sounds like something else in Czech and Slovak.
It probably does. Just like the euro was initially supposed to call the EQ, but then turned out that means shit in Finnish. So they were like,
Yeah,
oh
because
yeah.
that's basically what Jupa. But that's mostly because the terminology comes from the medieval times, and during the medieval times, most of the words over here were of Hungarian origin. Yes.
Anyway, you guys have an election going on, and you're electing
And
the.
basically, normally a Jupan, the head of a Jupa, in a two-round elections, which means that the two candidates with the highest amount of votes would then go to a second round, from which one of those would be picked. The law was changed, so now it's only a single round election, and one who gets the most votes gets the title, like right off the first round.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that this actually favors the Socialist Party. Socialists would get like most votes, but they would almost, in many regions, they would then be beaten out by another candidate because many people don't like the socialists. And of course,
Especially not the socialists.
it's the socialists who made this change in the law.
So it's a form of gerrymandering.
Basically, yeah. That they will get all of the or most of the regional posts.
So is there like an amazing twist to the story?
Well, mostly that they are being rotten assholes.
Oh, obviously we don't.
This can also change each of the, because aside from the head of the region, you also choose the regional parliament. Then is that the head of the region is going to be stuck with a parliament regional, which will hate their guts.
GG.
That's a perfectly valid way to end.
So yeah, that shit's going on tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow you're all going to the polls, and then you'll probably either elect the most leftist communist commie, that's also commie, or the Nazis, and there's absolutely nothing in between.
Oh, there are plenty of parties in between.
No. Come on, it's the current year. It can only be extremes. Yeah, you either go full.
The Nazis do have their own candidates. In fact, at least two such parties are candidating.
Candidating.
That's
Okay,
a word, Artrix.
That's a nice verbing of candidate. I like it.
Ah, that's a word in Slovak. So
Oh, okay.
he just added ing at the end.
Anyway,
The ironic thing is, I might actually vote for the socialists. Socialists they would want to.
ah. Well, if it helps you personally, then by all means. I mean, don't ever vote against your interests. So if a right wing party is like, yeah, we'll do this one thing, and you're like,
There
yeah,
is
but they have a
something
vote.
there is something I figured out. Right-wing parties, national level, but for local and regional, left-wing parties are better
Because,
because they actually care more about the people.
well, that makes sense.
Trying to.
Well, see, look, you can
Level.
also see it from this perspective. Like, yeah, they usually get they usually get to decide how money is spent on a local level, so
Exactly.
they don't have really that much power to begin with. So yeah, if they have plans that are very close to you, then it makes sense to vote those kinds of parties. Given
And
that,
it-
go ahead.
And when we are speaking of Nazis and local governments, the regional governments, there is also the nice part that one of the regions, actual Nazi, and I mean the one from the most extreme party we have, because currently we have two strong Nazi parties. One who is trying to act legitimately, like being a legitimate party. They basically refer to themselves as National Socialists. And then there is one who are just straight up skinheads and set stuff on fire. And this party has a head of one of the regions. And of course, the regional parliament supports him. So all he's doing is just cause petty types of problems possible. Like, no, I'm not gonna sign the school budget. No, I am not going to open the new theater. No, I'm not going to. You get the idea. Like the most embarrassing. What are you even doing? It's like watching a small child throwing a tantrum at something like it doesn't even know why it's throwing it.
But you know, it can.
Yes, because it can.
Also, this girl's got a weird thing going on with her neck. It just sort of dips into like this hollow space, and then your body clearly, yeah, it makes no sense.
They
it's
kind of forgot to draw her
upper torso,
shoulder.
but
They forgot
that's
to draw her shoulder.
that's probably intentional. They were like, yeah. All right. Let's see. Do we have another topic? I think I had a topic, but I think I forgot. Oh yeah, there's one topic, and it's kind of a shame that Tridgeon had to leave because both Tridgeon and I played ahead in time quite extensively. So I guess this is my... I actually bought the game recently and got about halfway through. And I have to say, of all the 3D platformers I've played so far, this is probably one of the best ones I've played in a long time. You know, their goal to recreate the classic 3D platformers of the N64 eras and PlayStation 2 era. I think that wasn't the same era, but yeah, they really succeeded, and it has a lot of callbacks to that era. So if you really like them platformers, 30 quid is really not a big price to pay, especially considering that there's free DLC down the line and modding and multiplayer. Yeah, there was supposed to be a discussion, but since Tridgeon had to leave, yeah, we kind of can't.
The discussion.
Well, it kind of has the bad luck of coming out during a time ahead and Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, well, Odyssey is fine if you got a Switch, which I do not. As for Ukulele, I'm getting fairly mixed opinions about that one.
They kinda lost all of my support after they decided to cave into the SJU nagging.
That, but also their response to it, like the way they decided to address their fans was not exactly selling it to me either. But also the fact that the game itself had some issues in the way it's played, the level design and whatnot. It sounds like it's they tried to create a Banjo-Kazooie, but it ended up, well, they tried to make exactly the same without knowing how to make a game like that, which is a shame given that staff members from the original were involved. So I guess they forgot how to make Banjo-Kazooie games.
Or maybe it was just a fluke. Like the fact that the original Banjo-Kazooie was even good to be.
Well, they had something great going on. I guess another part of it is that the Head in Time is obviously made with a lot of love. Like, you can really tell that the makers of that game had a lot of fun making it. Also, I believe that a lot of them were volunteers, which is amazing when you consider just how relatively vast the game is compared to full-blown budgeted games. I mean, it's not a very long game. Like I said, after one gaming session, I'm almost like halfway through.
Oh no.
Well, yeah.
Maybe I'm just too good at games, Artrix. That's your problem.
Oh,
you should
yeah.
learn from the journalists.
Maybe I'm just too good. And the journalists actually have a point, except they don't. But yeah, I guess I'm just too... Well, Tridgeon claims to have already beaten it, so I guess he's even gooder than journalists. He's like twice as good as journalists. This is a new standard now. We call it the games journalist, and one games journalist is when it takes you 500 years to beat a game. And if you are 0.1 journalist, then you play like a regular player, and anything lower than that is just phenomenal. So yeah, if it takes you one gaming journalist to beat a game, then you're pretty shit, bro. Just saying. Yeah, for the time, I wish there was more to say about it, but there really isn't. It's just a really fun-spirited game, and you should, if you have the chance, you should give it a whirl. But then again, go ahead.
Speaking of games, I'll go back to Super Mario Odyssey. Already said before the recording started, I never would have expected to see a Mario game mechanics as Omicron Nomad Soul.
So what is this mechanic?
Omicron Nomad Soul was an action adventure game from these early 2000s, I think more late 90s. Among other interesting things, it also starred David Bowie, but that's beside the point. And one of the main mechanics in the game was that you could possess both enemies and NPCs and use their bodies to achieve specific objectives.
Yeah, that seems to be the main power up in Mario Odyssey. From what I've
Yeah.
seen, there are no shrooms, no flowers or anything. The only way you can gain power ups is by possessing other NPCs.
It's basically Omicron Nomad Soul, only less serious.
Hmm.
Yes.
Uh, well, and given that it's got a fuck ton of content, I don't know the exact scope of the game, but I believe there's at least 100 moon pieces in it, which is the MacGuffin of the game. So it's always, at least it isn't stars again. Though I'm pretty sure there's stars in Mario Odyssey.
From what I've seen, it's mostly moons. Although to me they look more like bananas, but that's just me.
Yeah, moons, and they also got this thing going on where you you collect like coins, which can be, this time around coins are an actual currency. Usually Mario games, it's like, yeah, you can collect coins, and you're like, why should I? And then it's like, well, because.
Now you collect people.
Well, one of the reasons you collect coins is obviously because you want them one ups. You do not want to die, so you just collect coins, and then you can die die never. Well, actually, you can die all the time. It just won't have that much of a consequence. Speaking of which, they basically just got rid of the whole lives thing. Like you no longer need to get lives in Odyssey. It's dying costs you like.
So Artrix, does it have cover mechanics and regenerating health?
Yes.
And QTEs?
Yes. Oh my god, I can't imagine a Mario game with fucking QTEs. I recently played some Tomb Raider to test something. I actually tested a bit of Steam in-home streaming, and it kind of depends on the game, but for Tomb Raider it seems to be working pretty well. So you have your gaming rig in your office, while your TV with a low-powered computer is in the living room. So you basically do not have to have the powerful computer in the same physical location as where you're playing the games. It worked. It worked pretty well. It's definitely not without kinks, but it's actually kind of neat. But yeah, I did get kind of sick of all the cuties in Tomb Raider. I'm like, yeah, this isn't really a game. It's more like I'm watching a movie, and occasionally you get to do things, except for the shooty bits. That's where you actually have to.
There is a Mario game that does have cover mechanics.
Isn't that the recent one with the rabbits?
Yes.
So does it look like Call of Duty, where you're just sitting behind a crate and
No,
you just
but
wait
it
for
looks
the gem to go off your screen?
No, but it looks almost exactly like XCOM.
Right. Well, I'm not interested in anything that involves the rabbits, so I'll pass.
As far as XCOM clones go, it's actually one of the better ones.
Yeah, I keep hearing that it is actually.
Some people even say that they like if you would want to see this as an entry in the XCOM series, then you could say that they actually fixed a lot of the problems the XCOM games have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I agree.
Me too.
But yeah, anything else you want to add about Mario Odyssey or Ahead in Time? Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
True.
Top cack.
But what does lie ahead, I wonder.
Sorry?
I do wonder what lies ahead of us.
Lies.
I think we all do. That's the burden of being a sentient being on this planet.
Well, some things, a few distractions, and then eternal death.
Yeah.
That's what you usually do when you are alive.
Yeah, you just, be born, do a bunch of stuff, and then die.
Yes.
Sounds very exciting. Can you hear it? It's a sound of being alive. Just the compression sound going from Xaverius.
We are already talking about games, but one isn't
Games.
exactly a new one.
This is a fucking game.
It's from a few months ago. Ish point-and-click adventure game, Tridgeon.
I think I've heard about it, but what's it about?
Basically, in the future, it takes place somewhere in Eastern Europe. Basically, American corporations decided to go to Eastern Europe because of less strict laws, and they opened a business in children, like genetically engineered children that guaranteed won't grow up to be failures.
They will grow up to be Slavs.
That sounds almost like Blade Runner. Just saying.
Yeah, it's kind of like Blade Runner, only much sillier. Actually play as a defective designer child, like you were one of the first ones manufactured. They still didn't exactly know how to do it, so you are super gross, like super ugly. Go out into the trash where you grew up.
I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere.
Like the game basically starts, you somehow ended up working in a nuclear power plant. There is a meltdown. There is the threat of a meltdown. So basically, the game starts with you trying to, through various typical point-and-click adventure games, find.
That's with you trying not to get melted down.
Yeah, try not to get the nuclear power core to melt down. The stuff includes, among other things, a guy who thinks he's a superhero and wears a costume made out of traffic cones that drops thick beats, among other things. And then there is the side plot conflict that you gradually grow into as the plot progresses, in that the corporations making the designer children, like most of the children are now reaching puberty to adulthood, and a large number of them, for some reasons, is taking up liberal arts degrees. Are complaining because this means they are faulty designs. And that means they are failures. Money back. And since your character was one of the prototypes, like made before they started producing them in mass, they want to get you and study you to find out what went wrong with them.
Let me guess. Studying involves killing you?
Yes, basically.
One of the people present in the game is a sloth with Trump hair.
Yes.
That's a big selling point.
Also, there is a pug who has the brain of a long dead glam rock star from the 80s.
Sounds delicious.
I have not finished the game yet, by the way. Insane. There is also a religion that worships glam rock lifestyle, so it's seen as a badge of honor to get an STD.
As you do.
Like one of the only ways to join them, among other things, is to get an STD and survive a whole week on nothing but cocaine.
Sounds delicious. Also,
it kind of sounds like the people from The Culture. It's a series of books where they live on spaceships, and one of the crews was so bored that they decided all of them to have a cold for a week because they had nothing to do.
Also, this is obligatory. If everyone's got an STD, no one has.
That's true. It becomes a new standard.
Exactly. Isn't this how we can solve the AIDS epidemic? Just infect everyone with AIDS, and then AIDS will be gone since.
California is dying, Artrix.
In the Google search results for the images from the game to the public chat.
Might we were checking out. Thank
Might.
you. Yes.
It's not actually worth checking out. It just might.
Might be cool, spelled as in MITE.
Cool.
Also, since it is a Polish game, a way to include Baba Yaga into it.
Every game is.
Do they say Kurwa every 20 seconds?
I'm playing the English dub, so.
Oh. Kind of sounds similar to, well, maybe not the art style and just about everything, but the very peculiar point-and-click adventure game I played not too long ago was the entire Deponia series, which was made by a German...
Only point-and-click adventure Artrix ever played.
I played plenty of point-and-clicks. I played the original Sam Max and the remake. Well, it wasn't remake, it was just a sequel. An indirect sequel.
By the way, this might be a spoiler. So spoiler warning, but one of my favorite scenes. Giant statue of an ass. And it's later revealed that said ass is storing nuclear weapons. Yes. And that are aiming on the USA.
Well, it's the only place, it's the place no one would ever dare to look.
Yeah, the explanation is that American spies did in fact find out about this, but when they came home and told their government that there is an ass full of nuclear missiles aiming at the US, everyone just laughed at them and fired them.
Obviously.
Don't be silly. Of course there's no nuclear weapons in their ass. Get out. Also, you're not getting paid. Thank you very much.
There are no WMDs in the ass.
And that, by the way, the sloth with the Donald Trump hair, the early designer children, and he looks like a sloth simply because the people designing him thought that sloths look cute.
It's okay. It's kind of similar to how you see the word llama all across SimCity, because lolxxdd, these llamas.
The animation of the game is basically an ad for designer children, and they basically said, "We will make your child whatever you wish to be." This, an athlete.
But what if I don't want my child to be an athlete? What if I change my mind halfway through? I'm like, oh yeah, I got this child.
That actually is addressed in the game. In that case, you go back to the manufacturer, designer child, and the old designer child gets thrown into the garbage. Like literally, there is a huge garbage chute where the rejected children are thrown.
But don't they even take the effort to kill the child? They just throw it in the dumpster.
Well, they basically assume that they don't survive it.
Yeah, but
so I am now in a portion of the game that implies that at least some of them might have survived it, and they are forming an underground community in the garbage disposal unit.
But that's the number one reason why a lot of villains lose, because they dispose of the heroes, and they're like, oh yeah, they're not gonna survive that.
Yeah, don't just dispose of the heroes, recycle them.
Well, in this current year of 2017, I want my entertainment to be green. So yes, they should all recycle.
Well, you know the whole concept with the designer children, and it reminded me of some very old Czechoslovak show, a TV series, if you will. 60s.
Oh yeah. So we're in for some
Maybe
hilarious.
70s.
So we're in for some hilarious communist propaganda.
It was called
content.
Bambinot, and it was a hard sci-fi about
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
basically scientists found a way how to take the traits of the parents and simulate their child. So you could go to an institute and get a simulation of your child as it would be. You chose its age,
Huh?
and then you lived with it for a week or month or something. They had a preset date of expiration, and then you decided if you actually want to have a child or not based on that.
By the way, they had first they had to collect data about the couple that
Yes,
was
obviously.
about to have the child, because it didn't only take into account their DNA, but also the environment they would theoretically grow up in.
Yes, it's
Two
both
people
nature and
who,
nurture.
if two people who would normally argue constantly were taken, then it would be made from the child would probably come from a broken home, like it would be simulated in that way, while children of extremely affectionate parents were spoiled brats.
It sounds like a terrifying concept. Just the fact of knowing exactly, oh, this child's gonna have this um, life. Yeah,
This sort of personality, yeah, we don't want it.
Yeah,
yeah. Never
it was a
mind.
pretty good concept. Obviously, they decided to revolt the simulations.
Well, there's always a catch in these kind of moves. For instance, there was there was oh yeah, Minority Report. That a fairly funny premise in that. Yeah, we got these things and it can predict crime. So we just
And all the
make
criminals are Mexicans.
so yeah we make all future crime illegal. So if we can see that you are going to commit a crime, we'll arrest you before you do the crime, and then we sentence you for a crime you didn't technically commit, but you were going to commit.
That was actually the problem in the movie. Those people arrested, but they could not sentence them, not do. So technically, people were in prison without a fair trial. That was one of the main conflicts of the movie.
Yes, but they were imprisoned anyways.
They were imprisoned without a trial.
Hmm?
Because
Because
you can't have a trial over something that did not happen.
well, then you would imagine like wouldn't they adjust the legal system with this new knowledge that you can very accurately, well, of course it's a
As
movie.
said, that was one of the conflicts because there was a group to introduce the system of sentencing people for stuff that could happen.
Hmm?
Did happen.
Uh, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I was under the impression that they already implemented this, but apparently they didn't. They just locked people up without a trial and called it a day. So like, oh yeah, technically this is legal, whatnot, but I don't care. Just put them in. Just put them in like hibernation. They won't feel a thing. If they don't mind, then it's okay. I always thought it was funny in that movie that you just sitting there being completely motionless. It's still a funny sentence to this day. What did it mean?
Now someone is pointing out that the new Overwatch character Moira, a ripoff of the Battleborn character Beatrix. Battleborn character Beatrix.
Well, then again, it's Battleborn. Like, who cares at this point? Like, even if they legitimately ripped it off,
people who like justice, I think.
Yeah, but
people who like justice, you don't get justice in reality.
If everyone gets justice, no one gets it.
If nobody gets justice, everyone gets it. See?
But does he look like this character, or does he play exactly like this character?
They're both she started.
Yeah, that's she. I do know that I have the tendency to swallow the H in she.
Please don't
Or
swallow
the
the
S.
H.
Or the S.
Don't swallow the ass either.
Well, no, I will not swallow the S. Sounds kind of gross, to be honest. Jokes.
Okay.
Oh, and have you already seen Unikitty?
No.
Oh, wait, there's a TV series of that now?
The first.
I haven't even seen the original Unity.
Well,
She
it-
was
she
in
was-
Lego. Lego Movie.
I know, that's all I know.
Oh, you should see Lego Movie. You should legitimately see it. It is a really funny movie
No,
and very
Artrix.
fresh.
Artrix, look, I made better stories with my Legos than the movie can ever give me.
Well, that may be, but it's still a lot better than I thought it would be because when oh god.
I was just about to say that I experienced better stories while playing Dungeons and Dragons than any movie I saw.
There you go. But the Lego Movie legitimately surprised me. I went in expecting it to be nothing but stupid Lego drivel, and I came out being legitimately surprised. Like, oh, that was actually a very fun movie. That didn't take itself too seriously, but that consistent internal logic. Then it was just fun, and very different from all the drivel we had before that. In recent, cinematic history. For one thing, it wasn't a goddamn cape movie. Like every other movie these days. It's like, go to the cinema. Oh, so what do you want to see? Well, there's this cape movie and there's that cape
The
movie.
irony of people complaining there are no superhero movies. Like 10 years ago.
Yes.
It's right.
It's right. There's definitely an overabundance of those now.
At least DC is trying to have some diversity in those cape movies, but Marvel is just copy pasting like wild.
Look, it's a black Spider-Man. That's what everybody wants, right?
Well, there
Well,
was
Why are there 5 people reading your comics?
there is a Black Spider-Man comic that was established long before Marvel became the thing it is now.
If that was a random example.
Universe guy though. Alternate universe.
But
Oh,
still,
yes. Black people are always alternate universe.
there's I wouldn't really care if they either retconned it or they just went with it, or they don't even mention it as an alternative universe. Like,
Well, first the guy was in an alternate universe, but then Marvel had this weird thing going on where they merged some of the alternate universes into one, and now he basically lives in the main universe along with the main Spider-Man.
so they did kind of retcon it.
Yeah. Although he still remembers the old universe. Just that he also has memories of the old one as well as an alternative life he had in the new universe.
So how do they just explain this in universe? Because
Basically, the universes got merged.
so there literally was a moment when the two universes became one,
Just
and
two. There were several other ones who got combined into it.
Yes,
so
Artrix, that's how merging works. Good job.
Yeah.
You figured it out.
so Spider-Man was just walking through the desert, I mean street, and then suddenly all the universes
There was a
merged.
street in the desert, Artrix.
Yes, and then suddenly all the universes is mixed into one big universe.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it was a major event, but that's
Well,
basically
I reckon that the merger of several entire goddamn universes is an event if they treated it like. I'm not sure if this is spoiler. Did you guys watch Attack on Titan, or do you care?
I only watched the first few episodes.
Oh, well, in that case, I'm not
think
gonna
it's
spoil
kinda-
it.
Kind of
Unless you don't care.
Yeah, I think it kind of lost its appeal
Oh,
when he became a Titan. Like,
okay.
you know, it was more interesting when it was humans versus Titans rather than just giant
Oh,
monsters
well,
beating the crap
in
out
that
of
in
each
that
other.
case, in that okay, listener, spoiler for the Attack on Titan.
The Titans are all gay.
Yes, they're all gay, every single one of them. Also, in one scene in season 2, like two dudes are like they're just standing there, just having a random conversation, and like, oh yeah, but should we tell them that that you and I are the Colossal and Armor Titan? We should probably not do it. Just like out of the blue, it wasn't even like a very melodramatic moment or anything, or like a big reveal moment. It just sort of blurted out. It was that definitely was one of the most jarring things that I've read, where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're these very significant characters all along.
Oh, and here is a map of how the worlds got merged. The public chat.
And I think I'm done laying the groundwork for this drawing. But yeah, this is probably the first episode of Radio Rothingham when I did almost 2 fully rendered characters. But that I cheated a little bit because, you know, I drew the first one almost entirely pre-episode.
Woohoo.
I should probably use the letter as the main
Ledger.
as the main drawing for the thumbnail, because that's what I've been working on most. Anyway, I think we've come to the end of this episode.
I came.
The what now?
I came.
You came, you saw, and you conquered, or some shit like that. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. Like, favorite, subscribe. Also, we got someone on the stream asking how much I charge for an icon. Well, you
All of
can
it.
you can commission me for tenner if it's a Ray Rothingham commission. So yeah, just €10. I'll draw your drawing during Radio Rothingham, and you can use it as an icon. So I guess that answers your question. The only downside is that it has to be during the Radio Rothingham episode, and it needs to be drawn within that time span. So that is about,
And by Artrix.
and of course for me, that goes without saying. So
I said it just in case.
Anyways, thank you for watching. Like it, subscribe. Blah, 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 bye.
Subscribe.
I should have had the stop button ready to go, but here it is. Let's end this.